Thriving, visit aarp.org/black community.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here for KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Los Angeles at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. And I'm speaking to some of the attendees today to see why it was so important for them to be here.
Yeah, this is Lathan and Tyler. Main reason that's very important for me to be here is just to leave a legacy for my kids. Black wealth, generational wealth is what we need in our community, you know. Oh, Chase, someone has to take the lead. They're showing, big business like Chase cares, and they're putting their money where their mouth is at. So it's good to see, big institution like Chase, giving a lifting hand, to the community, and you got to respect that. It makes me want to bank with Chase, and give them another look. If I go to another institution, I actually see what Chase is doing for the community.
That's right, Chase is doing their part to help advance Black wealth. For more money support, tune in every day from 12 to 2 to KBLA Talk 1580's Midday Money Chain, right here.
Extreme heat increases your risk of heat illness and death. Warning signs of heat exhaustion include muscle cramps, headache, and nausea. Signs of heat stroke include a fever of 103 or higher, confusion, and loss of consciousness. Protect yourself by limiting time spent outdoors, staying hydrated, and staying cool in air-conditioned spaces. Learn how to stay safer from extreme heat at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like watering your lawn during the hottest time of the day and leaky faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
Amanda Seals, I was saying to the audience a moment ago that I celebrate. I mean this sincerely. I am such a fan of the way you are approaching the growth of your career, and that is to say, doing things independently. I raise that because in the trailer that we heard somebody ask, "Is it going to be on HBO?" And you said, no, it's not going to be on HBO. They said they didn't have the space. So let me start by, first of all, saying congratulations, and by asking where it is that this spirit, this streak in you comes to do what you want to do on your own terms.
Ooh, I think the spirit of that just comes from, well, one, I feel like Black women are accustomed to kind of just having to figure things out ourselves because it's like the space we're very rarely considered when spaces are being created. Yeah. So we have to then create the space ourselves. And I think there's also just the idea that I know my tolerance for people and foolishness is very slim, Tavis. So if I'm doing it myself, I know that I can manage that in a far greater way than putting myself into a system, which, you got to kind of do both at present. Like, I'm not in a Tyler Perry situation where I just have enough wealth to just just kind of just be the captain of my own ship on all fronts. But I'm working towards that. And you all supporting allows for that to continue to thrive.
Nope. Honored to do so. Let me get serious for a second here, and then we'll get to the comedy stuff here. We just had a conversation on this program before you came on in our last hour about a new poll that's out that you probably saw. You doing your own syndicated program these days, but there have been a number of these polls of late. But this one in the New York Times finds that never mind our political beliefs, most Americans these days agree on one thing: that we are failing as a nation. Democrats and Republicans apparently share a sense of doom. Many believe that our democracy is on the precipice of failing. Our democracy, put another way, is fragile. To quote Atlantic Star, it's a fragile situation that could fall apart at any time. So many of us, Republican and Democrat, believe that. What's fascinating about this poll, again, I just discussing this in our last hour, what's fascinating is that gender is the defining characteristic associated with this pessimistic outlook. Both Democratic and Republican women, and that includes, of course, many Black women, are more likely than their male counterparts to feel this sort of fatalism about our future. I hear your comment you made a moment ago that black women have always had to figure things out for themselves, but apparently more women than men these days are feeling pessimistic about the future of this country, according to the data. What say Amanda Seals about that?
I mean, I think that that's probably associated with the fact that there are still so many men that are in power. And, you know, we are at a time where we're seeing a lot more awareness amongst women outside of this thought process that men are the ones who need to run things. And for a long time, that was really a shared concept by everybody, this kind of patriarchal acceptance that, you know, men are the ones who need to lead. And it's like, well, okay, you know, ultimately, I don't think it's a gender-based scenario in terms of who needs to lead. It's an individual scenario that we need to look at. And I think women are tired of feeling like there's a need to have more of a diverse mind state of people in place, but there's still a structural support that puts men at the helm. And when we as women are seeing men making decisions about our bodies, about children, about, you know, who gets access to their rights, we're looking at it and saying, well, these are people that have always had access and they're still using their power to limit. So that is very disheartening.
Let me again pivot once again here. You are smart, black, and funny, as we all know. And I want to start with that first one. But you're really, really smart. And I raised this because I was in a conversation literally just last night about whether black people can handle smart radio. I mean, obviously, what we're doing here is unapologetically progressive, but it's smart. And we were in a real spirited conversation about whether or not our people are just conditioned and acculturated in a way where when you're doing radio, it's got to be with comedians. Let's face it, most of the black radio shows that are syndicated happen to be hosted by comedians, whether it's Ricky Smiley or Steve Harvey, you know, D.L. Hughley, Amanda Seals. Yeah, run the list. All of y'all are comedians. And yet, you know, I'm not casting aspersions on anybody else. You're really, really smart, and maybe smarter than all the other black comedians who are hosting radio shows.
Shut up. Don't get me in trouble.
I said it. You didn't say it. I said it. You didn't say it. So if anybody gets in trouble, it'll be me, and I'm used to that. And again, I'm not. DL's my boy. He's on this station every day. You know, the station, my home station in L.A. We run DL. Right. So that's my boy. I ain't dogging nobody. I'm just saying you're really smart, and I'm wondering what your read on that would be. Whether or not when it comes to putting out content these days, in a radio format, or for that matter, a television format, black people in particular are ready to receive not just the funny, but the smart, not just the comedy, but the commentary. What are you finding with regard to your syndicated program these days?
I mean, I'm very pleasantly surprised with how often we are contacted by folks saying, thank you so much. This is the content that we need. And, you know, having an appreciation for the balance that we strive for in terms of giving information as well as giving, you know, some humorous insight. I mean, my comedy just in general is really grounded in how do I use humor to also teach and edutain. So I feel like it's a very natural thing. But ultimately, everything goes in cycles. You know, we also came from an era where P.D. Green was saying what needed to be said on the air, right? So it's not like we haven't had folks before. And I think what we're seeing now, though, is that people are starting to realize and it's slow, but it's happening. They're starting to realize how dire a reality is of our rights and of this country's efforts to really roll back time. I think a lot of black folks are starting to open their eyes and see that their rights that they have can be taken. They were given. It wasn't an entitlement, and it should have been, but it hasn't been considered that in this country, and they can be taken. And so they're starting to understand that the only way that this is going to change is by us actually doing something to change it. And if we don't know what's actually going on, we won't actually know what to do. So I'm starting to see a lot more of a response, even with dropping the documentary In Amanda We Trust, which in its core is decisively wanting to get people curious and interested in how they can be involved in, civics. We don't have that as a part of our culture anymore, and we did. I mean, that was so much of the effort of the 40s, 50s, and 60s was getting Black people to see, like, we have to consider voting. We have to consider government involvement as a part of our culture. There have been concerted efforts since Reconstruction to make us feel like that's not a part of our culture, and it's been effective.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that people are starting to turn around and say, wait a minute, hold up. Like, whenever I see Black people say, like, I don't vote because, I'm withholding my vote, I'm like, that is so backwards, and it really is not progressive and radical in the way that you think it is.
Yeah.
Trust me.
No, I hear your point, and I agree with that. I hear the point you made a moment ago about civics. Now, I'm driving this conversation, or driving toward, rather, a conversation about your doc specifically. I want to get there. We'll do that in just a second here. But you said something else I want to just give you a chance to unpack for me before I get straight away into the documentary. And I'm glad I've got you for the rest of the hour because there's a lot to talk about vis-a-vis the doc. So we'll do that in a second here. But this point you made a moment ago about Black people waking up and realizing that our rights can be taken away, the point that I made earlier about our democracy being fragile and people being fatalistic. We had another conversation in our first hour today. Freddie Haynes, Dr. Frederick Haynes, who just took over from Jesse Jackson as the president of Rainbow Push Coalition. I love Freddie Haynes, brilliant brother, pastor of a major mega church in Dallas, just a great guy. I've known him for many years. You and I were having this conversation about the fact that if you don't have 8 years of Barack Obama, Donald Trump doesn't happen when he happens. So that many of us believe that Donald Trump as president was a backlash or a blacklash, if you will, to 8 years of Barack Obama. I sense that you don't necessarily disagree with that. My question is whether or not you think that when it comes to Black people who are now waking up, to use your phrase, and seeing things that we didn't see before, and recognizing where we are in this journey in this place called America, I wonder whether or not you think in that 8 years of Obama, some of us were just sort of sleepwalking, and we got accustomed in that 8-year period to having a brother and a sister in the White House, and really didn't see all the hell breaking loose that has happened since Obama's 2 terms. That we just weren't ready and didn't see this white supremacist in Donald Trump rising up.
I think it starts before Obama. I think it starts with Bill Clinton.
Okay, fair enough.
The sense of complacency,
okay,
the feeling of safety, the false sense of security and safety in this country. When folks were saying that Bill Clinton was the first Black president, that's when it started to go left, because he was not the first Black president. Ain't no governor of Arkansas the first Black anything. Cut it out. So,
although you recognize though, the first person to tell that joke was Toni Morrison, just for the record.
I did not know that. So that means great minds do think alike.
Toni Morrison said it first. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So I feel honored to know that. That's not the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
But I really feel like there's just something to be said for the ease with which we have become complacent on the heels of access to whiteness and money. And in Obama becoming president, there was this beacon for a lot of people that meant, well, if we've got a Black man at the role of president, then that means there's now a new gateway, a new portal to access of whiteness and money that we can now all go to. And it was a false sense of reality for folks.
Right.
And, it's even in your success and my success, it's a false sense of reality, because what we don't understand is that we simply have slipped through cracks. Okay? They're simply just fissures. We didn't walk through a gate that was open for us. We slipped through. And in order for us to slip through, it required us to have so many things in line. And that right there lets you know that the equality is not the same. I got to have everything lined up in order to fit through that little skinny crack to get through to some level of access. So I think for Black folks, Obama represented that in a false sense of security. And what I think a lot of us didn't realize is that was when we needed to turn up, not turn down.
Yeah. I love that. That as we say in the black church, that'll preach. that notion, that'll preach that we slipped through some fissures, we slipped through some cracks. Didn't nobody open up no gate and say y'all come? It didn't happen that way. So for Amanda and Tavis and others who've done, been blessed to do well, we fell through some cracks. A gate again has not been open. To my mind, one of the most troubling things about the way we black folk perceive the Obama era. And I remember, talking to Will Smith about this, because Will said this publicly, and he wasn't the only one, so I ain't bashing on Will Smith. But there were a lot of people in their irrational exuberance during that era were saying things publicly like the fact that Obama was president meant that anything is possible. that black folk can do anything. If a black man can be president, anything is possible. And I think some of us started to believe that, Amanda, and now we know that's not true.
Well, it's myopic, right? Like it's not intellectual in that it doesn't acknowledge the fact that he was put in that position. Like just like you and I, Obama did not make it to president because the gatekeepers were like, it's time for a black man. It's like, no, there was a methodology around that, and he needed to represent in a certain way, and he needed to, operate a certain way for him to have that role. But it was still the deciders who allowed for that. And until we truly acknowledge that we are not at the table, we can't say things like anything is possible for black people. It's like, no, our ability to thrive in spite of is not the same as the whole space is open for us. Does that make sense? So I just think, I think he came from a really good place, and this kind of idea of, wanting Obama to be representational of possibility. But we also must remember that within that concept of possibility, there are still very strong systems in place. And I think it really is a problem when black folks act as if access is somehow a representation of the dissolution of institutions of racism, which are 100% in place and very often deploy points of light to distract folks from the darkness that continues to strive.
She's brilliant. that last frame was brilliant. She's Amanda Seales. Her new political comedy documentary is called In Amanda We Trust. It dropped on Friday. And when we come forward, we'll tell you all about where you can see the documentary. We'll talk more about why she did the documentary, what she hopes to accomplish by the documentary. I had a chance to watch it last week. Amanda sent me a screener before it dropped. And I had a field day watching it, and I love that she did it. And there are messages here. I love when people are gifted enough to entertain and empower in the same space without feeling like you're proselytizing. And I think she accomplished that quite nicely. So we'll let Amanda tell you about this documentary when we come forward in conversation with her on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go: shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms: irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
Thank you for sharing a part of your Monday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. New York City African-American Mayor Eric Adams is en route to Israel for a 3-day trip. The purpose of Adams' trip to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem is to highlight his ties to the Jewish community as he tries to firm up support for a second term as mayor. New York City has the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. He'll focus on Israel's technology and the city's dramatic rise in anti-Semitic incidents. More than 3,000 movie theaters across the country will offer discounted tickets this Sunday. It's in honor of National Cinema Day. All movies in all formats will cost less than $4. That includes even Oppenheimer in IMAX theaters if showtimes aren't already sold out. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
In the Cahuenga Pass, we've got a mudslide on the 101 northbound at Universal Studios Boulevard. Has the right lane blocked still. Traffic is jammed up from Highland Avenue. In Commerce, a pothole on the 5 south at Slauson. And you've got a wreck working on the 5 northbound at Lankershim Boulevard, blocking your 2 right lanes. In the Newhall Pass, 5 north and southbound at the 14, the truck lanes are closed.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Since 2010, Blindster has sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters to satisfied customers across the country with 20,000 5-star reviews and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Custom blinds at low prices and free shipping. Blindster.com.
Warning. If you are 60 or older, RSV can be a dangerous respiratory virus.
Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated against RSV today. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com. This message is brought to you by Pfizer.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers and Rams have something in common after week 2 of the NFL preseason. Both teams aren't sure if they have the right guy as a backup quarterback. In the Chargers' 5-point loss Sunday to New Orleans, Easton Stick played the entire game in place of Justin Herbert. He threw 2 interceptions and lost a fumble. Stetson Bennett got most of the snaps Saturday night against the Raiders in place of Matthew Stafford. Bennett threw an interception that was returned 50 yards for a touchdown. The Chargers and Rams have 2 more weeks of practice and 1 more exhibition game to figure out their backup situation. Lakers guard Austin Reeves scored 16 points off the bench Sunday to help USA Basketball beat Germany by 9. The U.S. team went 5-0 in FIBA World Cup exhibitions. First real game for the U.S. in the FIBA World Cup is Saturday versus New Zealand. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Carson, you back!
Hey, I am Jasmine Carson, LSU Women's Basketball National Champion. I had to up my game, and this time I upped my intimate grooming routine too. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area. Featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and a skincare regimen that is dermatologist tested, Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about the full regimen of products.
Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for the Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job paid training, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus are now even putting their money in your pocket with a one-time $2,500 sign-on bonus. Let us connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in your community, then we invite you to join the team. Start your journey by submitting an application at culvercity.org/job. For more information, visit culvercitybus.com or call the live customer service operator at 310-253-6500. Again, 350-253-6500.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
More of Amanda Seals coming your way right now. In case you've just tuned in, she has a new political comedy documentary out. It's called In Amanda We Trust. It dropped on Friday. It is funny, but it's also insightful, and I'm pleased to be in dialogue right now with our friend and sister, Amanda Seals. So, Amanda, as I said, I saw the piece. I loved it. And there are some messages in here. Let me just start with a broad question about how you approached putting this together when you knew that there was a point to it. There was a message you wanted to get out, as I said earlier, but you don't want to politically proselytize in something. You want to be funny and you want to be entertaining. So tell me about your approach.
So, this was actually one of those things where I just had to kind of follow where I was being pulled, because my original vision was to do a traditional stand-up special. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I went into this. I had my last special release on HBO in 2019, Abby Knowing, and, we had the pandemic, and there just hadn't been another opportunity for me to be back on stage. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to create that opportunity. I'm going to do a special. Mm-hmm. So then when I started the process of the special, though, it was like, even if you go to a studio, the numbers ain't the same as they were in 2019 in terms of what they want to pay for a special. They're also, like I said in the promo, HBO told me they didn't have room, which I found hilarious. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do this myself. But in doing it yourself, you also are going to have to not just pay to get it done, but pay to promote. And so it was at that time I realized, oh, baby, you're not wealthy. So how do you do this, at the level of your taste, but also at the level of your pocket? Mm-hmm. So I said to myself, okay, maybe I'll use some footage. So I had shot this set that I did at the Kennedy Center last year, and I said, okay, I'm going to use that, but then I'll go back to DC and I'll do some segments that I can put in between that, and that was my vision. But when we actually went to DC and we shot the segments, we realized that the segments themselves were so robust and so dense and actually told a story that needed to get out there, devoid of me just telling jokes on stage, which, don't get me wrong, like, my comedy is political, mm-hmm. but it felt like this was this now had another level of texture to it and uniqueness, because I haven't seen anything like this documentary done by my peers. Mm-hmm. And so that felt more advantageous, mm-hmm. and we decided to just scrap the stand-up. You hear stand-up in the documentary during
Sure.
the transition, but the actual purpose of the documentary took on a life of its own when we realized, you know what, we were pulled here to do this, but we were given something so much greater than we set out for. And so that's how it developed. And everyone who knows me and who has been following me on Instagram understands that my real true passion around how we can be politically involved and be the change that we wish to see is not inauthentic. And so this project allowed me to take that passion and put it into practice and create art, which is all of the goal.
You used the word purpose a moment ago. So what to your mind was or is the purpose of the doc?
The purpose of the doc is to excite people, to make them curious, to get them engaged in the concept of we as a people involving ourselves in government, not just with voting and action, but also intellectually. Mm-hmm. We need to know how our government works in order to use it. And, in the simplest form, people say pimp the system. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying, but in reality, you can change that first word to whatever you need to, but ultimately you have to acknowledge that there is a system in order to dismantle it. And so this documentary is a humorous but also insightful look at just the basics that a lot of people don't know about in terms of the system, and a reflection for folks on some people that are within this system. So we interview Representative Bowman, we interview Representative Ilhan Omar, and they speak to what's going on behind the stages. Mm-hmm. I mean, I say stages, that was a Freudian slip, because I do feel like these politicians be thinking they're on stage. Mm-hmm. But behind the doors in Congress, right? Like, why are we not seeing bills passed? What is going on? And I really am proud of myself for creating a space for them to speak as people, not as politicians. And I think it's really important for us to see that, because as we are stepping into this new election year, we have to stop voting emotionally. We have to stop voting emotionally. I don't care if that person dresses the way you like or they sound the way you like, the same way that you can't date emotionally. That's great that this person is charming. They're probably a narcissist. Like, we have to really become better about how we identify those who are going to be speaking on our behalf. And we have to come from a healed place, and we have to come from a knowledge base. And so I hope that this documentary, exposes that for some and makes them say, dang, I want to be a part of that. And for those who already feel like they're in that space, I hope it gives them even more of a boost to say, yeah, I got to be more vocal about this with my people, and with myself, and really like get back to the basics, because this is not something we haven't been at before. But when you asked earlier about like the Obama up thing and how that made us complacent, I think one of the other ways it made us complacent is it made Black folks feel like, oh, y'all got this. Y'all got this government thing. We don't got to really be in this no more because we did it. Our peoples had to die for us to vote, and we could vote. And now look, we voted. We got a Black man in office. What do we need to do now? We don't got to do nothing else. We do.
Yeah. To your point about the representatives that you interviewed, I was waiting with bated breath when you asked this first question. It may have not been the first question, but certainly early. You're laughing, so you know where I'm going already. I was waiting for his answer when you asked him. You know, you can tell me what the exact question was, but the point of the question was, so how well do you understand how this process works? And I was really struck by this answer from a member of Congress who says to you, I'm not so sure I understand how all this. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm talking about, right? Take it away. Yeah. Take it away, man. Take it away.
Well, I asked, Representative Bowman, how well do you feel like you know how government works? And he said I would give myself about a C. I would consider myself a C student. And I was really shocked by that.
So was I.
Right? Because you're in it.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm not a constitutional scholar. He said, I do know how policy affects people. But in terms of how the inner workings of this place works, it is a learning curve. And I was shocked for two reasons. One, because I'm just like, how you in here? You don't know how to go. But then two, I was shocked by the willing to be transparent.
Yes.
The willingness to be transparent.
Yes.
Because that, I feel, is a shared sentiment by many people in Congress, right? Because the goalpost is always moving. And the other question I asked him is, well, who's it been easier to work with? 8th graders, because he used to be a principal, 8th graders or Congress? And he said it was easier to work with 8th graders. However, Congress people lie more often
than 8th graders,
more regularly on the record, and they should know better. And so, I think it spoke a lot to, and they continued, they expounded upon this further, just the ways in which the system as it is in place in order for bills to get passed and as legislation, in order for legislation to move, it's really a flawed system that, if you don't have the right folks at the helm, it just comes to a standstill, which is where we are right now.
Yeah. No, I was, as you said, struck by his honesty, struck by his transparency. But I think if you talk to most folk who haven't been on the Hill for 40 years, they give you the same answer if they're being honest, that they're there, but understanding how this process actually works is a very different thing. And so, I appreciated his candor in that moment. We're talking about Amanda Seales. Her new political comedy doc is called In Amanda We Trust. More with Amanda Seales when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
What does access mean?
Access means owning a home. Access means growing my business.
Access means building generational wealth.
No matter your goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Programs and initiatives provide the tools and resources to help you reach them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. Driving for a few hours of your day can make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more.
Dominique DePrima here. Having a good credit score is one critical step to obtain a loan to buy a home. But did you know that your credit score is just one factor in getting a mortgage loan? Think about this. Lenders also consider your income, your employment history, current monthly debts, the size of the loan, and the amount of your down payment. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives support you in reaching them. Access your personal financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 is inviting you to join us on Saturday, September 16th, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for our very first economic empowerment event for the community. This event is free and is powered by Caltrans. We're doing this in association with Rambo House, and here's Rambo to tell you more.
Contracts. I'm going to say it again for all of us small business owners out there. Contracts. Rambo House, KBLA, Tavis, me. Oh my God, this is going to be massive. I truly thank Caltrans for giving us the opportunity to focus on contracts. Listen, that's what it's all about to be a small business in LA. That's how we hire our own. That's how we expand our community is contracts. KBLA1580.com is for you to have a seat at our contracts-focused event. Contract Ready does it again. We had over 900 last time. So you guys know how exciting this is. And if you just think that you want to get into contracts and you're close to it, bring your friends out for September 16th at the Marriott Hotel. Listen, you know where to register. KBLA1580.com. Come see me. I can't wait to see you. Let's do it, Tavis.
So be sure to go to KBLA1580.com for all the details. We'll see you Saturday, September 16th.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Amanda Seals' new documentary is called In Amanda We Trust. In Amanda We Trust. We're talking about that and a few other things in this hour. Amanda, you said moments ago, and I want to come back to this, that we have to stop voting emotionally, which leads me to ask whether or not you think that's unique to black folk. Are we the only persons that vote emotionally?
Absolutely not. Look at these fools voting for Trump.
It's my question, exactly. So we have to stop doing it. But by us, you didn't mean just... But the repercussions of doing so affect us uniquely. Mm-hmm. And so we have to be we have to be smarter. Like, we talk about this all the time, right? Mm-hmm. That in order to break through those cracks that I talked about earlier, you got to be 2 times as smart. You got to work 2 times as hard. That hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. We do have to do that for our own survival. Like, we need to stop expecting these folks to think about us. And then we say to ourselves, well, I don't care if they don't think about us. We got to think about ourselves, and we're not going to worry about them. Baby, I'm trying to think of a metaphor on the spot to describe what that is. But it's like, that's like you in the middle of a basketball game and you just like, well, I don't got to dribble because I'm doing my own thing. Well, baby, they're going to leave you and they're going to keep scoring on you. So what are you doing? We have to be engaged. And I'm not saying that that's the only thing we have to do. I always say it's vote and. Mm-hmm. It is vote and. And, one of the metaphors I've been using lately is to speak about, like, the Berlin Wall did not come down from one side. Mm-hmm. It came down from both sides. All right? You need folks on the inside and the outside. Yeah. I am not out here saying that, reform is going to fix this. I am not a reformist by any stretch of the imagination. But I do know that you got to be hitting it from all sides. And the only way to do that is to be supporting both sides. We have to be supporting those on the inside. We also have to be supporting the organizers and the activists on the outside, on the ground. And we have to be doing this from the ground up. Let me take that both sides metaphor and stretch it if I can. When you said both sides, you meant that, as you defined, as inside and outside. let me stretch it and press you on whether both sides could also mean on the left and on the right.
No.
Okay. I expected you to cut me off real quick there, but tell me why. And I'm not even asking that, but tell me why you feel that way. I understand the agenda they're pushing. Tim Scott and Will Hurd, and Larry Elder. There are a few black people running right now for the GOP nomination, but why
folk ain't kinfolk.
I got
we
you.
Know that.
I get it. But there are those who believe, who sincerely, earnestly believe that we ought to be on both sides of the aisle, and you feel differently.
There's something that a lot of folks fail to acknowledge, which is the difference between the past and the present, right? We love to reference the past as some sort of explanation for what we should do in the present, right, without acknowledging that things change, okay? I will be the first to say there have been times where the Democrats and the Republicans look the same, where it's like, well, it's all white folks on both sides. It's all folks that are, corporatized and, bending to lobbyists. And I by no means think that Democrats are infallible by any stretch of the imagination. However, at the current present state where we are, it is absolutely under no uncertain terms that Republicans are only in support of corporate greed. They absolutely want to limit access to rights by anyone who does not follow their Christian white nationalist creed. And they are in no way hiding that they are in support of the NRA because the NRA is giving them bread, period. So it's like you can't just absolve those realities to make some general consensus of like, it's both sides doing or both sides need to be. The Republicans have made their point clear. They have made their platform abundantly clear. The black men and women who are Republican are also in support of this white nationalist Christian rhetoric. Like they are anti-black, and they have asserted it over and over and over again. So it's not even about race in that regard. It's about who's perpetuating that agenda. On the Democratic side, they simply are just not doing that. Yeah. And we have to acknowledge that. And it doesn't mean that the Democrats are the saviors. But I also want to just point out to folks, because we live in a nation that has by and large been functioning against or with a Christian mindset, right? Within Christianity, we can say that Jesus that's the head honcho, okay? It's Jesus and God. But it is this idea that there is one Savior. And so we somehow have also applied that to government. Yeah, and we say, well, if we're like, well, this candidate, we need the right candidate. We know it's about the candidates. We're not getting the right candidates. And it's like, I don't know what y'all think this is, but this is not the Bible, okay? Yeah. Nope. This is government. And these people are people just like you who decided, I want to be in position to either have power or to create change.
Yeah. Nope, I received that. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Amanda Seals, I want to talk about civics. She raised that earlier. Specifically, I want to connect civics to this notion of cynicism and skepticism. I'll explain it when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
MC Light, or AARP, hip-hop. The cultural phenomenon that took New York by storm in 1973 is celebrating 50 years of rocking mics and crowds. Whether you're a ride-or-die hip-hop head or simply curious about its origins, check out the latest issue of AARP the magazine. It celebrates this incredible milestone with a featured story brimming with fun hip-hop facts and history. Head over to aarp.org/black community to learn more.
Community is more than where you live. It's the people in it who go above and beyond to help it thrive. During the 50th anniversary of hip-hop and the 75th anniversary of Black Radio, AARP recognizes the members, volunteers, people, and partners giving back to our communities. We believe when our efforts drive change for the greater good, we all thrive together. To learn more about how AARP supports efforts to keep our communities thriving, visit aarp.org/black community.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCES scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just one dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Just 3 minutes left here with Amanda Seals. 3 quick minutes. I want to do 2 things right quick in these 3 minutes. Number one, you mentioned civics earlier. I wonder how you get people to really focus or care about civics, Amanda, when, in my view, most fellow citizens have moved from being not just skeptical about government, but cynical about government.
I think the reality is that you should be cynical about government. And we need to remain cynical about government. And I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
I think the cynicism is what should keep us engaged, and what should be, at the end of the day, the cynicism reminds us that we should not sleep on the job when it comes to getting the folks that are supposed to be in our stead working for us. And if that requires cynicism for now, then so be it. But we have this like, many of us, not everybody, but many of us have been programmed to think these people are going to be put in power and then we can just rest because they're going to take care of us. That's not your mother. And even with that, we all know that even our parents, we have to be like, hey, get in line. So the reality is that your politicians are working for you. And the same way that anyone else who's working for you, you have to monitor and say, hey, like, can we make these changes? Can we make these shifts? You know, that's an awareness that you have to have. For now, it's looked at as cynicism. The more involved we get, the more empowered we feel. It will transfer from cynicism to focus.
In the last 60 seconds I'll give to you, I don't need to tell you how to do this. You do it quite well. So promote your doc and tell folk where they can see it. Do your Amanda Seals thing. Go ahead and seals the deal.
So first of all, thank you, as always, Tavis, for creating a space for me to seal the deal. Y'all can check out my independently produced political comedy documentary, In Amanda We Trust, available at inamandawetrust.com. It is a work of love. It is a work of art that is not about just saying, hey, we matter, but it's about saying you matter. And I hope that you guys will check it out and understand that when you pay to watch this project, you are not supporting a white man sitting on a field behind some buffalo talking about why his company shouldn't have to pay laborers what they deserve. So check out inamandawetrust.com. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at Amanda Seals and check out my syndicated radio show, The Amanda Seals Show.
She knows how to do it, and I ain't mad at her. Amanda, love you. Thank you for the opportunity. Congrats again on the powerful documentary, inamandawetrust.com. Talk to you soon, sis. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Peace, y'all.
Thank you. Just like that, 3 hours gone. Hope you enjoyed the program today just half as much as we did. We're back here, Lord willing, tomorrow to do it all over again. Until then, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.